Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun. I want to welcome you back to this video of a certain topic. It just came to my mind like within the last week. I kind of wanted to talk about it. It's technically the five list, but it's not. It's going to be five things I'm going to talk about on terms of this topic that's specifically about what I wanted to talk about. But it's not going to be the five list. Those are coming back. I'm going to make that. I've been working on a couple of those lately, at least thinking of ideas that's going to come back in 2019. So this is the five list, but it's a topic I want to talk about, video game wise, because I want to kind of talk about more of my opinions, like not like expanding out of Smash Brothers and a lot of other stuff, video game wise. And like I said, I want to jump into more wrestling stuff, anime stuff, and drawing stuff, and expand my channel's horizons a little bit. But this is a topic I want to talk about, kind of give my opinion on this question, and I would love to see you guys talk about it because it just came to my mind. I don't know why. I was just watching YouTube videos, probably gaming stuff and playing games, and it just came to my mind at work one day. I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on it, and basically just it's the five list, five things to talk about this topic. And I'm gonna probably do more stuff like this, but it's not in the five lists. But it's gonna be the five things of a certain topic I want to answer a question to, or I want to talk about. But it's going to be on the topic of arcade cabinets, arcade machines. And, arcade gaming used to be super huge. It used to be like the main thing people mostly did when they played video games. Obviously back in the day there was the Television, ColecoVision, the Atari, and all that stuff too. But the arcade started becoming the major place for people to go play video games until the video games really started pushing it, like with the Nintendo and Sega wars of the 80s and 90s, the PlayStation coming in, Xbox coming in where it is now. And given that while arcade machines are still out there, arcades are not as popular, sadly, as they used to be. But I remember growing up and always going to some sort of arcade, whether it's at like some like laser tag place or going to an actual whatever, and there's arcade machines like almost everywhere. I went to a freaking laundromat and there's a little tabletop arcade machine there. Arcades, a lot of like us older gamers have actually grew up in the arcades, and while younger gamers still can technically experience it, they didn't really experience it in the heyday when the arcade scene was really huge. But I started thinking about arcade machines and arcade gaming and all these different machines and stuff like that, and I wanted to talk about this and answer my own specific topic. If I could own five arcade cabinets, five arcade machines, what would I choose? Like, if I could, first of all, if I could freaking fit them in my house, which quite frankly there's no room for that, so that's out of the question. But let's talk about the dream house where I have the room to put five arcade machines in it of any type and size. And which ones would I pick? Who would I go for? What games would I want to have in the arcade, in this arcade room? Like, would I like to own arcade cabinets about? And okay, and here we are. We're going to start off. The first one I would love to have, and it's one of my favorite arcade machines of all time. It's one of my favorite arcade games of all time. And if I can get collections of this game, and when I get like the Namco collections on these systems, like on the PS4 now, or I had one on the DS, and I think on the Wii at some point too. I keep buying these Namco arcade collections. It's my favorite classic arcade machine of all time. I would love to own an arcade cabinet, whether it's a top-down one or a legit, big cabinet of Galaga. It's one of my favorite classic arcade games of all time. I love just, shooting the enemies, the patterns, the stages, and it's also technically one of the arcade games I actually am pretty good at. I can make it to at least stage 10. I kind of suck at a lot of arcade games, especially the older ones. But that one I can actually go along with. And I actually love the concept of just the simplicity of it, shooting the enemies, and just there's something about it. Like, Namco really did do really well, and they really were almost like the kings of the arcade back then, with like the Pac-Man and Galaga and Galaxian and Dig Dug and whatnot. But like, Galaga is one of my favorite arcade games of all time. If I can get multiple incarnations of freaking Namco gaming arcade collections and Galaga's always in it, I'm up for it. Galaga is one of my favorite arcade games of all time. I would love to be able to, in my house, have a legit machine that plays Galaga. 2, I would love to have a fighting game as well. Like, given that, I always talk about fighting games, and this is not just talking about Smash Brothers, but like one of my favorite genres of all time, and I think I've mentioned this multiple times on my channel, is fighting games alongside RPGs. And I love me some fighting games. I grew up with the likes of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, got into Tekken and Soul Calibur and blah blah blah, Smash Brothers and everything. Like, I love fighting games. So if I had to have an arcade room of 5 arcade machines, one of them have to be a fighting game. I'm not fully sure which one I want to pick, so this is a dual option, but it's between Street Fighter 2, more than likely the original. And I know it got better with Turbo and Super and all that stuff, and they had Cammy and T-Hawk, and you could play as the bosses and everything, but I am the most nostalgic because I used to own the Super Nintendo version of the original. It'd be cool just to have the original, and you just have the original 8 characters like Guile, Ken, and Ryu. It'd be between that and another one of my favorite fighting games of all time, Tekken 3. So it'd be one of those two. If I had to personally pick one that, like, I think I enjoy overall Tekken 3 a little bit more, but I'm more nostalgic for Street Fighter 2. So it can go either way with that. It depends on my mood and which one I want to play, but I'd have to have a fighting game in my room in this arcade selection, and those are the two that really come to my mind. The third one would have to be one of Konami's beat 'em ups. It could be the X-Men game, the Simpsons game, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game. It could be any of those. My personal pick would probably be the X-Men because I love the X-Men. It'd be between the X-Men and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game. But I'd probably go with the X-Men because I just grew up loving the X-Men, and it's a really fun arcade game. And I'd love to be able to own that and then be able to invite friends and family over. And it's a big multiplayer arcade thing too, so there's a good reason to get get the big one where you can have 8. Was it 6 or 8? I forgot. I never actually played it legitimately. I think I remember playing. Wait. Oh yeah, I did play it like once in the arcade, but I think I remember playing more like when they brought it to like the arcade stuff on games and whatnot. I remember playing at a friend's house or something, I believe. I know I played it somewhere, and it was not just in the arcade. But I love beat 'em ups. I love the X-Men. In a multiplayer thing, I need to have something in there so I can invite people over and we can play it. So I'm going to say the X-Men one. And jumping back to the fighting game one, if I had to pick one, I'm going to say Street Fighter just for the sake of nostalgia. The fourth one has to be a classic, just like Galaga. But this is a classic not because it's my favorite arcade game of all time, but because it's my mom's, and that's Centipede. I have to have Centipede in there because I can invite her over. She can play Centipede. She just loves Centipede. It's like her favorite arcade game of all time. And quite frankly, I love it too, and it's a classic. And I would love to be able to, especially if it's a top-down one, like a tabletop one of Centipede. It's just really fun and it's simple, but it's just like Galaga. It's like simple, but it's kind of hard to master and get far in the game. I kind of suck at it, but I think she's pretty decent, or at least she used to be. But it's like I like that more so because it's her favorite. Just like I picked Galaga because it's my favorite. So it's in there too. And I like it too, and it's a fun classic game to play. And 5. This game I am super nostalgic for. This game I loved growing up playing on the Super Nintendo, but I never got to play the actual arcade version of it. And that's Sunset Riders. I love the Super Nintendo game to death. One of my favorite games growing up, playing with my cousin Erica and whoever else would play with me. But the thing is, with the Super Nintendo version, it's just 2 players. With the arcade game, you could play as Billy, Bob, Steve, and Cormano. It's a 4-player arcade thing. So just like I said with the X-Men arcade game as a beat 'em up, this is a Konami shoot 'em up. And I'd love to be able to play a multiplayer and be able to experience Sunset Riders as it originally was intended with all 4 characters. Maybe I could then beat the game because I cannot beat frickin' what's his name, Richard Rose, or whatever the final boss is. I can never beat him in that game. But it's by myself too. But it's one of my most nostalgic games I've ever played on the Super Nintendo, and I would love to be able to experience its original version in the arcade. So yeah, that's the 5 I would pick. I would pick Galaga because it's one of my favorite arcade games of all time, especially classic-wise. I'd pick Street Fighter 2 just because I'm nostalgic for it on the Super Nintendo, and to be able to experience a fighting game like that in my living room as it was intended back in the day when it was originally in the arcade game fighting scene, that'd be fun. The X-Men arcade game because it'd be a cool beat 'em up with multiple people playing. Centipede because it's my mom's favorite, but I also love it as a classic arcade game. And Sunset Riders, so I could finally experience the original Sunset Riders because it's one of my favorite games from old school Konami. And I would love to see them maybe bring the arcade version to the Switch's Nintendo online service or something. It'd be really, really fun to see that. Some sort of download, eShop type of thing. But yeah, that would be the next best thing. But owning the arcade machine would be pretty freaking cool. Those are my 5. And I'd love to see you guys put in the comment section. If you could actually have the room to put arcade machines in your room, in your house somewhere, and let's just say it's a Dream 5. I don't know if you have any in your house or not. Maybe some of you do have arcade machines. That's actually kind of cool. But what Dream 5 would you have? Or let's say you have a large collection. There's some people out there that have big rooms and houses full of arcade machines. What's your top 5 favorites that you have? I don't know. Put in the comments below. We can discuss it there. Have fun. My name is Cypress One. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day. And stay tuned for more topics like this where they're not the 5 lists, but they're more fun, just ideas of the 5. Maybe I see, oh, this is 6 things, or this is 2 things, or this is 20 things. I don't know. I'm going to go from there. See ya.